September 12th, 1958, 11:47 p.m. The sound shouldn't have mattered. It was small, mechanical, almost polite. Click. For half a second, nobody inside Lennox Lounge understood what had just happened. Jazz hung in the air, unfinished. A trumpet caught mid-breath. Cigarette smoke froze where it drifted. Glasses hovered inches from lips. Time didn't stop. It hesitated. Big Sam Foster stood 6 feet behind the man he had protected for 5 years. His arm was extended. His hand was shaking around the grip of a .38 Special. The gun was aimed perfectly, at the back of Bumpy Johnson's head. Close enough to smell his cologne. Close enough to end everything. The gun hadn't fired. 300 people were in the room. Hustlers, politicians, musicians, number runners. Men who decided which buildings lived and which burned. Women who knew which secrets mattered and which got you killed. Every one of them understood at the same time that something irreversible had just failed to happen. Bumpy Johnson didn't flinch. He finished his sip of cognac, set the glass down slowly, deliberately, as if the sound of crystal touching wood was more important than the gun behind him. Then he turned in his chair and looked up at the man holding the useless weapon. His voice was calm, almost gentle. "I've been counting on you." That sentence would outlive most of the people in the room. 3 weeks earlier, Bumpy Johnson already knew how that night would end. In 1958, Bumpy Johnson wasn't just another name in Harlem. He wasn't just a gangster, not just a racketeer, not just a man who moved money from one pocket to another. He was a boundary, a line that couldn't be crossed without consequence. Harlem didn't belong to him on paper, but everyone who mattered knew it belonged to him in practice. He ruled without shouting, without excess, without spectacle. His power didn't come from how loudly he threatened people. It came from how rarely he had to. He didn't flood the streets with violence. He flooded them with certainty. When a landlord tried to evict 5 families in Sugar Hill, the eviction papers vanished before sunrise. When a black-owned bar was raided every weekend, the raid stopped after one quiet phone call. When Italian crews tried to push deeper into Harlem's numbers game, their hands came back broken. Never publicly, never loudly, never traced back to him. That was the part the 5 families never understood. They believed power came from fear, from blood, from making examples. Bumpy believed power came from memory, from letting people remember what happened the last time they tested you. By the late 1950s, Harlem's numbers racket was worth millions. Pennies and nickels from people who couldn't afford to lose them. Stacked so high they bent the balance of New York's underworld. The Italians wanted it all. They tried quietly, then openly. They sent intermediaries. They sent threats. They sent money. Every approach ended the same way. No, not negotiated, not softened. Just no. It wasn't personal. It was territorial. Harlem fed itself. And Bumpy made sure it stayed that way. That refusal made him a problem. The meeting happened far from Harlem. Low voices, thick walls. Men who never agreed on anything agreed on one thing. Bumpy Johnson couldn't be moved. Force had failed. Bribes had failed. Politics had failed. "He's untouchable," someone said. "No," another voice corrected. "He's protected." That distinction mattered. If they couldn't reach him directly, they'd reach him indirectly. If they couldn't buy him, they'd buy someone he trusted. Every king has a weakness. Every fortress has a gate that opens from the inside. Big Sam Foster was that gate. Sam had been with Bumpy since 1953, 6'4", 260, built like a door frame. Quiet, solid. He didn't drink much, didn't gamble, didn't chase women. His loyalty wasn't performative, it was structural. He'd taken bullets for Bumpy twice. He'd stood beside him at his mother's grave. He'd slept in chairs outside hospital rooms, hallways outside jail cells, cars outside meetings that lasted till sunrise. For 5 years, Sam had been close enough to kill Bumpy 100 times. And that's exactly why he was never suspected. The approach came quietly. August 20th, 1958. Late afternoon, 132nd Street. Sam was locking his apartment door when a black Cadillac rolled up, the window lowered just enough. A man in the back seat smiled. Big Sam. Not a question. Sam's hand moved toward his waistband. 5 minutes, the man said. If you don't like what I say, you walk away. Sam should have walked away. Every instinct told him to. But desperation makes curiosity louder than instinct. He got in the car. The man talked about loyalty, about respect, about how rare men like Sam were. Then he talked about hospitals. Sam's youngest daughter had been sick for 6 months. Tuberculosis, slow, expensive. The kind of illness that doesn't kill you quickly. It drains everything you have while it waits. Bills stacked higher than Sam's pride. Charity wards. Long nights, listening to breathing that sounded like it might stop. When the briefcase opened, Sam didn't reach for it. He didn't have to. $50,000 doesn't look like money when it's stacked that neatly. It looks like certainty. One bullet, the man said. One moment. Walk into Lennox Lounge. Wait till Bumpy's distracted. One shot, car waiting, new names, Miami by morning. And if I say no, Sam asked. The smile disappeared. Then you watch your daughter die slowly, and you keep standing next to a man the world is trying to kill. That's not a threat, that's math. Sam left the car without speaking. The briefcase stayed behind. That night, he didn't sleep. He sat in a chair in the dark, watching his daughter breathe, measuring every inhale against the weight of that money. Loyalty didn't pay hospital bills. Brotherhood didn't stop the disease. 3 days later, Sam made the call. What Sam didn't know was that before he ever stepped into that Cadillac, Bumpy Johnson already knew someone would try to turn him. Bumpy didn't become king by trusting loyalty blindly. He trusted information, patterns, the invisible people everyone else ignored. A parking attendant noticed a car. A license plate was written down, a name connected to a pattern. 2 hours later, Bumpy was sitting above a jazz club, staring at a piece of paper that confirmed what he already suspected. He didn't react. He didn't shout. He didn't order anyone hurt. He waited. For 3 weeks, he watched Sam, watched the tension in his shoulders, the hesitation in his movements. A man tearing himself apart, quietly. Bumpy had choices. He could eliminate the threat. Most men would have, but elimination solves a problem once. Lessons solve problems forever. So Bumpy made a different decision. He didn't stop the betrayal. He prepared for it. The gun was swapped quietly. Perfect weight, perfect balance, useless function. A weapon designed not to kill, but to expose. The plan required patience, precision, restraint. Bumpy needed Sam to pull the trigger. Only then would everyone understand. Only then would the message land. September 12th, 1958. Lennox Lounge was full. Friday night, Harlem breathing in unison. Bumpy sat at his table, back turned, vulnerable by design. At 11:47, Sam stepped forward and chose his fate. Click. And everything changed. Sam's knees gave out before anyone told him to drop the gun. The useless .38 slipped from his hand and clattered against the floor. The sound was sharp enough to make people flinch. 300 witnesses watched a man collapse in on himself, watched 5 years of loyalty unravel in the space between a click and a breath. No one moved. No one spoke. The room waited for Bumpy Johnson to decide what this moment would become. He stood up, slowly. Bumpy wasn't tall. He didn't fill doorways. But when he rose from that chair, something shifted. The kind of shift you feel in your chest before your mind understands it. Authority didn't need volume, it needed clarity. Sam was crying now, quietly. Not fear, consequence. The kind that arrives all at once and never leaves. He tried to speak. Nothing came out. "I know," Bumpy said. Before Sam could force the words free, his voice wasn't loud, but it carried. "I know about your daughter." Sam looked up, eyes wide. Not anger, knowledge. "I've known for 6 months," Bumpy continued. "You think I don't watch my people? You think I don't see? What do they carry?" He reached into his jacket, pulled out an envelope. Thick, heavy. He placed it on the table like evidence. "Every bill," he said, "paid. This morning. There's a check in there too, $5,000 for your family. No interest, no favors owed." Sam stared at the envelope, afraid it might disappear if he blinked. "Then why," he whispered, his voice cracked. "Why didn't you tell me?" Bumpy looked at him for a long moment. Not anger, disappointment, clean, precise. The kind that hurts more than rage ever could. "Because I needed to know," he said. "I needed to know who you'd listen to when it mattered. Them or us?" Silence swallowed the room. Bumpy turned slightly, just enough for everyone to see his face, to understand this wasn't mercy, it was judgment. "You chose their money," he said, "and that choice costs you everything." Sam nodded. He didn't argue, didn't beg. He understood that begging would only make it worse. "You're leaving Harlem tonight," Bumpy said. "You take your family and you disappear. I don't care where you go. I don't care what name you use. But if I ever see you again, if I ever hear your name in my neighborhood again, this conversation won't happen twice." Sam swallowed, nodded again. Tears are streaming now. "And Sam," Bumpy added. His voice dropped lower, sharper. "When they ask you what happened here tonight, you tell them the truth. You tell them I knew. You tell them I let it happen. And you tell them this was the last gift of mercy they'll ever get from me." Sam picked up the gun. Didn't look at it, didn't need to. He turned toward the door. Every step is heavier than the last. His shoes echoed louder than the music ever had. The door closed. Big Sam Foster vanished from Harlem forever. Bumpy turned back to the room. 300 people stared at him. No applause, no whispers, just understanding settling into place. "Let me make something clear," Bumpy said, lifting his glass. "They think they can buy us. They think they can divide us. They think poverty makes us weak." He paused. Let the silence do the work. "They're wrong." Harlem wasn't quiet anymore. It was listening. "This neighborhood isn't for sale," he continued. "Never was. Never will be. And anyone who thinks they can walk in here and buy loyalty with cash is going to learn what happens when they mistake money for power." He raised his glass. "To Harlem. And to loyalty that can't be bought." The room answered him as one. The band started playing again, soft at first, then stronger. Conversations returned. Laughter followed within minutes. Lennox Lounge looked the same, except everyone inside knew they had just watched a line drawn would never move again. By morning, the story was everywhere. From back rooms in Brooklyn to private clubs in Manhattan, from Boston bars to Baltimore docks. The message traveled faster than any bullet ever could. Bumpy Johnson had known. He had waited. He had turned to betrayal into the theater and made the entire underworld his audience. The emergency meeting happened the next day. Tempers flared, accusations flew. But beneath the anger was something colder. Respect. "You can't beat a man who sees you coming," one voice said. And that was the truth. They couldn't escape. Harlem was removed from the board, not conquered, not negotiated, simply acknowledged as an untouchable. Bumpy Johnson lived another 10 years. He didn't die violently. He didn't die running. He died where power had always followed him, in the same room where betrayal failed. His heart is giving out long after his enemies had. Big Sam took the money and the shame with him, the last anyone heard. He was working on construction somewhere cold, carrying a story no one there understood. And Harlem remembered. Because power, real power, it isn't about pulling the trigger first. It's about knowing when someone else is going to pull it and being ready when they do.